Alright, guys, so my guest today has the true immigrant success story. His family came to the U.S. with only $200 after escaping communist Russia in June 1980. He was only 6 years old at the time. They risked everything, choosing freedom over comfort. He had an incredibly rough start here in the States and was forced to deal with people's prejudice and bullying almost every day. Dealing with those issues as a kid chipped away at him and turned him into someone that he wasn't. He started getting into fights and lashing out, and at one point he was the getaway driver in a home invasion that ended in a police helicopter chase. After that fork in the road, he decided he was going to turn his life around for the better. He started taking better care of his health and got into fitness, which led him to make the decision that he wanted to help others for a living. Fast forward to now, and he's the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. He's an Inc. 5000 CEO twice over, whose company has made Entrepreneur Magazine's list of the top 500 fastest growing franchises and earning hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue per year. His successes are extremely impressive, and he is the embodiment of the American dream. Now, while all that is incredible, we're talking about a different side of Bedros today. We're talking about Bedros, the family man, and how he developed his ethos and grew to become the man he is today. So please help me in welcoming my good friend, Bedros Keuilian. First of all, thank you so much, man, for giving me this opportunity. You're always throwing me these alley-oops, and it's important that I try to, capitalize and dunk on them, man. So
sure, paying it forward.
No, most definitely, man. I appreciate it. So, just like we heard in the intro, you are known for all the success you've made or that you've had in the business world.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows you as the beast of an entrepreneur that you are. You have, done so much, not just in the fitness world, but outside too, with all the gyms you've opened, the jobs you provided, the clients that you've coached, different entrepreneurs that you've coached to help scale their business. And so everybody knows that you have had success there, which is great. And I love that part of you as well. However, I know a different part of you, which is Bedros, the family man, Bedros, the husband, Bedros, the son. I mean, even the story about your parents or your whole family coming over here to the United States is you guys have been through some things, and it's always been you guys are, super tight knit. And I love that about you, and I think it's going to be great, delving into that a little bit more. So I want to talk about that.
All right.
First things first, I'm just going to dive into it, because this conversation is going to be about, young men, how you can become a better, stronger man.
Sure.
And so I'm just going to ask you right off the bat, to you, what is masculinity or manhood to you? In other words, are there rules or is there a code?
Sure. Let me address that last thing you said. Is there a code? I believe there's a code to live by. I believe every man should have their own personal ethos, their code to live by. And I think every man at some point, as they reach self-awareness, a level of confidence in their own skin, a level of understanding what their purpose is in life, will have their code. I definitely have mine, and we can talk about that later. But masculinity for me is not, going around beating your chest. In fact, on TikTok, there's this song that goes, "What's up, bro? I'm the alpha." What I'm talking about? And people dance to it, right?
Dude, I can't say.
And every time I see that, I realize if you're the alpha, you don't have to announce you're the alpha.
Right.
You just show up as the alpha.
Yeah.
And the alpha, by the way, in every tribe, from animals to humans, is usually the person who's most quiet. He's observing. He's looking to protect.
Yeah.
He's looking to serve.
Yeah.
He's looking to provide. Like, it's a big responsibility to be alpha.
Definitely.
What that song talks about, they should change the word alpha to "I'm the bully." I'm the bully.
Right.
Because that's when you beat your chest, you're the bully. When you need to show off and peacock, that's the bully. When you need to AMOG, which means alpha male of the group, if you need to act like you're the alpha male of the group, you're being a bully.
Right.
And I can tell you that because I never once thought of myself as the alpha. Just people were like, you know what, would turn to me naturally in chaos and crisis and disaster and be like, what do we do now?
Right.
I was like, why is everyone turning to me? And I realized that there's a pattern of life that I've lived where I've been consistent.
Yeah.
I've kept my nose out of I've been in plenty of trouble,
Sure.
and that's all over the internet, and you could see that. People who want to Google and watch that. But all that trouble has led me to what masculinity is to be a servant, is to be a leader, is to be a problem solver, It's to be able to mentor.
Yeah.
You know, I had a gentleman named Jim Franco mentor me in my 20s, almost the same age that you are. I mean, talking about full circle, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then now I get to mentor you, and I got to see you at 10, 11 years old growing up when I was training your mom in a boot camp environment for fitness. But yeah, masculinity to me is really being that protector, the provider, the source of security, the servant leader. And when you look at like a wolf pack, especially when they're moving through snow or through a forest, they'll have the young wolves up front, the elderly, older wolves in the middle, and the leader of the wolf pack is always in the back.
Right.
And one of my favorite books by Simon Sinek is Leaders Eat Last. And that the leader of the wolf pack is in the back, watching, knowing that the elderly, older wolves are likely to get attacked from behind,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And so that's where the leader is. That's where the alpha
That
is.
kind of
That's where the
mentality.
yes.
Yeah, I love that.
And so now that I'm 45, I'm so self-aware that I study animals. Like, hey, what is the most alpha animal
Yeah.
doing in the tribe? Is he doing the hunting? Is he doing the protecting? Is he
Yeah.
doing the serving? And I try and emulate that, and it feels good.
Right
Yeah.
on. I love that, man. I want to take you back a little bit because you talked about, you kind of went through the different qualities that, alpha men have. And one of them was purpose, having a sense of purpose in serving. And I'm not going to make you tell the whole story, but there's an interesting story that you talk about. If I'm not mistaken, it was your German Shepherd, or, it was
Yes.
digging up holes.
Cookie.
And it kind of just goes all the way around. Like you said, you study animals. Like that's something that, people I don't think pay attention to, like having purpose and serving. So actually, I wasn't going to make you tell it, but I want you to tell the story
tell
for
that
anybody
story,
who
yeah.
hasn't heard it, please.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. And here's why, man. Lheyton, there's so many people who are, like you're an old soul. Like, I don't know if people have told you that you're an old soul.
heard that
like,
before, yeah.
Right? And it's just because you have this calmness about you. You have the way you carry yourself. And I think your mom had a lot to do with building that within you. And some of it is nature, some of it is nurture. And I wasn't, man. I wasn't an old soul. Like, I was a pretty rambunctious, dumb kid who, my mom didn't sat me down and turn on a particular channel or,
Yeah.
and said, watch this, and this is what, foreigners are about to deal with.
Sure.
Like your mom did with saying, hey, look, you're black, and this is, what you're going to have to deal with in life. And so for me, a lot of things weren't taught. They were caught.
Sure.
Like, I observe, I'm like, oh, okay, if the alpha animal is doing that, and I want to be a leader, an alpha, that's I need to be more like that and less like I am.
Right.
Right? And so I learned this from my dog. So about 4 years ago, I'm on Facebook and I see a friend of mine in San Francisco post that, hey, we rescued this dog. She's 8 months old, 85 pounds, and the family that we rescued her from was going to send her to the pound, and we rescued her, but we don't want her. If anyone wants this dog, come and get her. And I talked to Di, and I go, hey, Di, I think that dog belongs to us. Dude, I don't even know why. It's a picture. It's not even a video, right, that I can see the dog's friendly. It's just a picture, and it's a big German Shepherd / American Mastiff.
Yeah.
It's a big dog.
It's a huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
85 pounds at 8 months old, right? Like you do the math on that,
Jeez.
she's over 100 pounds now.
Yeah.
And so Andrew and Andrew probably at that time was, well, he's 14 now, so you go back 4 years, whatever that makes him, 10 years old. I'm like, buddy, you want to go on a trip? Sure, Dad. So we get a one-way ticket flight to San Francisco, and we rent a SUV. We go to the people that I know. They're Fit Body Boot Camp gym owners who rescued this dog, and I said, what's her disposition? Like, oh, great dog. And as I turn, and I met them at their Fit Body Boot Camp, right at their gym, and as I'm talking to them, I see the dog doing something over there. I look, and the dog's taking a poop right on the workout floor, right?
Yes.
I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's a great dog? They're like, yeah, she's a great dog. I'm like, all right. We stuffed the dog in and I'm thinking like, don't bite me, don't eat my son.
Yeah.
We got a 9-hour drive back.
For real.
So we drive back. This dog just falls asleep next to Andrew. Andrew has his hand on her, and till today, they're just super bonded. Anywhere Andrew goes on the property, Cookie just trots along, right? She's Andrew's protector.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's me, then Chloe and Diana, because I was the second person that she connected with. And so we get home, and Di's like, okay, dude, we've got 2 small dogs. This big dog is so strong it's pulling all of us. Yeah. Let's get a dog handler to come in and teach us what to do. I'm like, that's a good idea. So this lady comes, she's like a dog whisperer. She's very popular apparently out here. And she comes and she goes, all right, look, she's very smart, but she's also a big dog who's part German Shepherd, and so she needs routine and purpose. That's why they call it a German Shepherd. They need to shepherd animals, or they could shepherd your kids, and she points to Andrew and Chloe. Right. And I'm like, all right, well, she could shepherd the kids. Great, that could be her thing. And then I go, routine? Sure. Well, like, what kind of routine? She goes, play ball, give her a sense of purpose. I'm like, all right, every morning I'll get out and throw the ball 10, 12 times, and we've got a big backyard. She can get the ball, and I'll love her up. So she goes, it's very important that you do that. Otherwise, if you see this beautiful backyard of yours, this dog will end up digging holes everywhere if you don't do that. And I go, why? She goes, in the absence of having purpose and routine, this dog will fall into a depression and get anxiety and give itself purpose. Right. And the purpose will be to dig holes in your backyard. Right. Dude, in that moment, I'm like slapping Di on the arm. I'm like, holy smokes. Yeah. I remember when I didn't have purpose, I didn't have a routine of life, a pattern of life, that I would dig holes. I would find problems in my life. I would self-sabotage. I would go into this negative self-talk loop. I would do things that forced me to downgrade my life, right? And these days I share that from the stage when I speak, and I talk about that some of the digging that we do in our lives is drug use and alcohol and gambling and pornography and infidelity and overeating and all these things you replace purpose and routine with because you get depressed, you get anxious, you start digging holes in your life, causing problems. No one ever gets depressed, anxious, and then does great things in their life. We get depressed and anxious and end up sabotaging our life. Sure. And so in that moment, I learned from Cookie, an 8-month-old dog, and this older lady who was the dog whisperer, that I'm no different than that dog, man. You and I are no different than that dog. We need purpose. We need to serve. We need to have a routine because in the absence of that, we will mess up our own lives.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love that story, man. I feel like I take something new out of it every time. Like there's a new detail that I missed the last time. And so I love that you tell that story so well. So when we talk about purpose and having, and serving others, basically, other manly qualities that we should have, do you feel that, you should, like being a man is something that you need to be taught, or do you feel like it should be natural, like you shouldn't have to think about it? Because I always had trouble, believing when people would say, just be a man, and, but when you weren't taught that, it's really hard. Like you turn 18, 19, 20, you're just supposed to, start walking a certain way and carry yourself differently. And so I just want to know what you think about that.
So I'm convinced, just like from time to time, natural leaders are born. You look at certain generals and they go, like, he was a leader when he was a little baby. They'll interview like the grandma or the mom, and they're like, oh, he was leading the little kids in the lemonade stand. Yeah. It's like, okay, that wasn't me. That's not most of us. Right. Someone's born a leader. Someone's born like, who Jocko Willink is?
That name sounds familiar.
Navy SEAL. He wrote Extreme Ownership, and anytime he's interviewed, he talks about, he goes, ever since I could remember, I could think as a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid, I wanted to be a commando. He wanted to be a commando. Like, not a doctor, not a lawyer, astronaut, personal. He wanted to be a commando. I want to go to war. I didn't have that. Yeah. I remember growing up thinking, like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Yeah. Right? And so some people are born natural leaders. Some people are born naturally know how to be a man. Most aren't. Majority. I'd say 98+% are not. And I believe the reason for that, that's why there are, if you think about the medieval times, knights had squires. And there's a great book out there, I forget the author's name, and it was called Raising a Modern Day Knight. And it's about how dads can raise young men to become men. And, a knight had a squire. The squire's job was to wash the horse and to carry his armor and to polish the armor and to sharpen the sword and when necessary to hold the sword and battle with this knight so the knight can have some practice. He was like a practice dummy, right? But in that process, the knight would impart information, and through just environmental exposure, this young squire would learn things like how the knight operates, that the knight would open the door for a lady to walk through, right? And then the young squire would go, aha, all right. I don't just open the door and go through. I let a lady go through, hold it open for her,
Gotcha.
you know, acknowledge her, because we are the more primal species. We acknowledge her. Hi, ma'am, how are you? Even today, like we have this thing called the project, you know, when we take the guys on a hike at night, and inevitably they encounter women and they don't say hi. Part of it is because these men have not learned how to be a man yet, and it's not their fault.
Right.
And we remind them that, hey, do you believe that you guys are all stronger than that woman physically? Yes. So do you think that she might be clutching her purse a little tighter? Do you think that she might be a little nervous seeing 12 to 16 men walking in the dark? Well, yeah. Then you idiots, why did you not say, hello, how are you, ma'am? Smile, show your teeth, a very universal sign of, I'm not a threat. Right? They're like, oh, shit. Right. But they didn't because they were insecure.
Sure.
And that was me.
Yeah.
Lheyton, that was me. I would just keep my head down and didn't want to make eye contact growing up. Not because I was a threat, but because I was insecure.
Yeah.
But I imagine a woman walking by would be like, oh, shit. Like,
for sure,
this guy could beat me up and mug me and rape me and who knows what.
Right.
And so some of our lessons are taught, some of them are caught, but by and large, men need to go through a squireship experience. And as I was telling you before the camera started to roll, just because there was a dad present in the house doesn't mean that you were taught to be a man. Like if dad didn't learn,
Yeah, exactly.
and dad was emotionally rambunctious, dad was a drinker, dad spoke to you with the backhand like my dad did. I love him to pieces. He freed us and brought us to the United States from a communist country. But when he got angry, he called it the Five Brothers, right? And he would just deliver the Five Brothers. And I remember telling a friend, one of the Section 8 housing apartments that we lived in when we came to America, I said, he goes, I'm on restriction. I go, Scott, what's restriction? Come out and play.
Yeah.
He goes, I got in trouble and I can't come out and play with you guys for a week. I'm on restriction. I go, can't your mom or dad slap you around a little bit and then you can just come out and play after?
Get over it.
Right? And he was shocked
Yeah.
because he's like, that's abuse. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never heard that word.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a very different experience, right? But so if the dad in the house was absent or the dad in the house was not raised to be a modern day knight, it was not raised to be masculine, a servant, a protector, a provider, how are you going to?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I really do believe it's a learned experience.
Okay. Got you, man. You brought up the project, and that was what I wanted to ask you next, because I think that, first of all, I'm just going to say it's amazing. Excuse me. It's amazing what you're doing for these men. And it's almost like, you know, you put them in your mouth, chew them up, spit them out, and they come out to these beasts, and they have more experience. They come out stronger. They care about brotherhood. They're different. They walk differently. They carry themselves differently. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, you know, first off, for anybody who doesn't know, what is the project and why did you want to start that?
Yeah, good question. So I'll preface it by saying this. I 2.5 years ago, I wrote this book called Man Up. It blew up, and I honestly didn't think it was going to blow up. It blew up and Man Up became a New York Times bestseller, or I'm sorry, a Wall Street Journal bestseller, and an Amazon bestseller. Yeah. And Man Up is a book on leadership. Now, I previously, about 12 years ago, Lheyton, I was a bad leader. I was a good entrepreneur. Like I knew how to market, I knew how to sell, but as I had more employees around me, I didn't know how to lead them. And that's because my dad didn't really teach me how to communicate. I was supposed to be seen and not heard in my family. And so if you're not supposed to be heard, you don't communicate well. Right. And so I wasn't a great communicator. Well, my team needs to be communicated to. I wasn't that decisive. People always made decisions for me. Mom, dad, older brother, older sister, so I wasn't decisive. You need that to be a great leader. I wasn't clear on a vision. I just knew I wanted to make a lot of money. But what does that mean to my employees, right? And so very quickly, when I started Fit Body Bootcamp, our franchise, I realized there was a lot of turbulence, a lot of chaos, and I had a lot of anger, and I was very upset with my employees, with my franchisees, at the time with my wife, because I was borrowing money from our house, you know, taking equity on our house, refinanced our house to feed our business, and it just seemed to be this like money-sucking machine.
Right.
And I'm like, why are my employees such dumbasses. Why can't they see that we're trying to make a lot of money? But dude, to them, maybe we were already making a lot of money. Sure. Because if I had real vision, I would have said, guys, we want 2,500 locations by the year 2025, and we need to get 14 locations a month to get there. Like that's clarity of vision.
Right.
And then I need to communicate what the marketing message is and how we're going to serve the people. And then I need to be decisive who goes where, and I need to be able to have the communication to be able to give feedback and correct someone and fire them. Dude, I was so passive aggressive. I wouldn't fire someone. I would just stop talking to them. So imagine that. I would pay them.
Yeah.
They'd come into work walking on eggshells. I was just like tense about it.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, what is this tension with you and that employee?
Right.
Oh, they screwed up this way. Have you written them up? Have you talked to them? No. Like they need to figure it out. Well, how?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How? Unless they can read my mind. And so I realized very quickly that the employees weren't the problem, the franchisees weren't the problem, my wife wasn't the problem, I was the problem. And soon you realize that the three different groups of people, the only thing that's in common is me, I'm the problem. And so ironically, I wrote the book, so I went on this 5-year journey. I went to therapy, worked with a therapist for 16 months, once a week, because I also realized I had a lot of anger issues. And as a kid in Armenia, before we escaped and came here, dude, I was sexually abused. I was sexually abused. There's no other way to say it. Yeah. I could easily talk about it now. But up until about 4 years ago, no one knew about it.
Right.
So I had this rage, shame, and confusion hiding inside me. Rage, how dare that happen to me? Right. Shame, I'm so embarrassed that happened to me. And confusion, like, did I do something to make that happen?
Yeah.
Like, was it my fault?
Yeah.
Right? So imagine growing up your whole life, all the way to your late 30s, thinking like, I can't let anyone find out about this.
Right.
And so that affected many things in my life. And so I decided I had this massive anxiety attack, went to see a therapist. That led to me doing a lot of self-discovery. And the craziest part of this is that I spent 5 years reading all these books on self-development, emotional resilience, mental toughness, and that led me to reading books about Navy SEALs and Army Rangers and Delta Force and Green Beret and Marines and just like resiliency in the military. And I realized, okay, what a Navy SEAL squadron has to do, they identify what their mission is. Do we capture intelligence? Do we capture the bad guy? Do we kill the bad guy? They don't just go in and try and figure it out, right? They go in there with a mission.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a mission. They have a term called shoot, move, and communicate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't shoot, move, and communicate with my team. I know the moves here, but I haven't told these 30 people.
Right.
Yet I expect them to move with me.
Yeah.
They communicate like no one's business.
For sure.
They have something called prioritize and execute. There's a million things that has to get done. They put it in priority and they execute from the top one down. I had one team member working on this, another employee working on that. I was focused on something else. We weren't on the same page.
Right.
And so I realized like the best lessons of leadership I can get is on the battlefield. And you know, these guys would, book after book, I would see them, they would talk about that their best lessons were written in blood. Because when you get shot from a bad move and you're dying, like, okay, we're not going to repeat that one again. We don't do that. We don't kick in the door. Now we pick the lock and go in quietly, right? And I'm like, oh shit. Well, the best lessons as a business person is written in money, like lost money. When I bleed money, that hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I learned a lesson. So after 5 years of just self-developing, I'm like, oh my God, my business took off, dude. My relationship with my wife totally improved. My employees went from being employees and now I acknowledge them as team members because I believe we're on a team together. We have a unified goal. So I'm like, you know what? I don't want any entrepreneur to ever experience this again. And I realized leadership, just like masculinity and manhood, is not factory installed in us.
Right.
We're not born, okay, small percentage are born with it. Right? So I'm like, I had to learn over 5 years. And so I wrote this book called Man Up, because I told myself, like, dude, man up and be the best version of yourself. Man up and have that communication. Man up and make that decision. That's where Man Up came from. And when I wrote the book took off. And all these people were reaching out to me, guys and girls, saying, hey, you should have this thing for men where you can teach us all this stuff that you learned, like hands-on. Because in the book I talked about, I put myself through these uncomfortable challenges. And
yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know Aaron Weatherspoon,
Yeah.
right? Aaron Weatherspoon, at the time he was the King of the Cage welterweight champion. I would hire him for 6 weeks and I go, dude, teach me to fight and then fight me at the end, right? And then I would sign up for a marathon, never having run a marathon. Dude, I never even ran a mile before running
insane.
that.
Yeah.
Trained for 6 weeks, ran a marathon. Painful.
Yeah.
Rock climbing. I was afraid of heights, so I'm like, I'm going to overcome heights 6 weeks, and I'm going to climb the highest mountain I can find here in Southern California. So anyway, I put myself through these challenges, and people reaching out to me saying, you got to do that for us. Like, that's how you level up. That's how you grow out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And in the process of suffering, like when Aaron's got me in a chokehold, is when you have all these aha moments. Like, okay, I could either be a little bitch right now and tap out, or I could be a beast and calm down, think about what he said, bring my chin down, tuck my fingers under his elbows, and see if I can get a little breathing room, just enough to make the next decision, right? So it's always I was always battling with the bitch and the beast, and I had gotten so good with negotiating with my inner bitch, right? And I share that with you because many people do that and they take the easy way out. And I decided I'm going to live a hard life moving forward. Like, I'm going to be a hard ass motherfucker, because if I can be that hard dude, then I'm going to have an easy life, a good life. And so that's what the challenges were that I talked about in it. So all these people are reaching out to me saying, you got to put together challenges, Well, all of a sudden, this SWAT sniper who read my book in Idaho reaches out to me. He goes, hey, I want to work for you. I'm like, what do you want to do for me?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know, but I'll move out to Southern California with my family and I want to work for you.
No way.
I'm like, well, I have a franchise. I don't have a SWAT team. Like, how can I help you? And he runs a shoot house. He teaches guys how to clear rooms and like CIA, FBI, cops and stuff. I'm like, all right, come on out. We'll figure something out. And then I got a speaking gig last year, and I meet this Navy SEAL, and we just hit it off. His name is Ray Kerr. And he's like, man, now I'm a former Navy SEAL. Now I'm deploying for the CIA. I've done 40 deployments for the CIA, doing all like that Zero Dark 30 stuff, the Benghazi stuff that you see. And he goes, I don't want to do that anymore. Do you have a job for me? I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Right now, like, it's starting to click. And then Aaron, this guy from Arizona, applies to work for me as my VP for my supplement company. But I later find out he's been sexually abused, that he's got an MMA background, that he's had multiple dads in his life, who one was crazier than the next. I'm like, is this the universe putting all the right people in front of me to create something?
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to listen to the universe here. And so I created the project where the Navy SEAL, and then a very angry Navy SEAL, Marine. He's a coaching client of mine. He owns 2 gyms in New York, but he decides he's going to move to California because his gyms are they're just doing great in New York. He's like, hey, I'd rather live in California and enjoy the sun. And I say angry, he's just very disciplined and intense, you know. And so I'm like, okay, now I got a Navy SEAL here. I've got a SWAT sniper. I've got a Marine, an MMA fighter, and then there's me. Okay, I think we can really help men level up in every category of life.
Yeah.
And the categories that I know of are family, faith, fitness, and finance. The 4 Fs that we call it, the F-bombs: family, faith, fitness, and finance. So the project was born, and we didn't even know what to call it. So we were like, guys, we're gonna have this project. How long should it be? And the Navy SEAL's like, probably about 3-4 days. I'm like, how about 75 hours? He's like, great, okay. So what should we call this project? I don't know. Okay, we'll come up with a name later. So the name project stuck, and it's called the Modern Day Knight Project. Gotcha. Because we want to help men become modern day knights, better leaders, more decisive, find their purpose, stop suffering in silence, stop choosing the bitch over the beast every time. And so men who are usually in their 30s and 40s, even late 20s, they might be married, they haven't found their purpose, or they lost their purpose, they lost their way, they just feel like they're just robotically going through life. Right. They sign up for this thing. We have a class every other month. 16 men start, usually just more than half graduate. It's their choice to ring the bell and quit. The Navy SEALs set it up like BUDS, which is their training, Hell Week, where you're going to get tortured mentally, physically, and emotionally. If you stick around through that suffering, you will develop into the man you're supposed to be. Gotcha. But if you want, you can ring that, and their bell goes with us everywhere. To the beach. I didn't know that. Yeah, to the beach, to the hikes. In the compound that we have, anywhere we go, the bell goes for those 75 hours. And when we put them down to sleep for a couple hours a night, the bell is right there in their little loft that they sleep, because the most amount of bell ringing happens when they get up from their 2 hours of sleep. And their mind starts negotiating with the bitch, where they go, oh shit, what's next? What torture are they going to put me through next? And they get up and ring the bell and quit. Wow. Yeah, but those who don't quit, Lheighton, become part of this. They're part of this brotherhood. And what took me 5 years to become a modern day knight takes these guys 75 hours. And I'm getting goosebumps because I wish I had that. Right. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Wow, man, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's a hell of an experience.
That's what I'm saying, man. I didn't know that. I didn't know a lot of that. So I knew, the basis of why you started it, because you like helping people. In this case, specifically, man, But this really was like that. That was deep. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So
And I went with men, by the way, because a lot of women will say, well, how come we can't come do it?
Right.
Because we also talk about crazy trauma that's happened to men.
Right.
And men are not going to talk about being sexually abused, raped,
Sure.
Ridiculed by their parents or whatever in front of a woman. That's in our DNA. Men
Right.
don't show weakness in front of women. And so when and the only reason we break these guys down physically is so that we can access them emotionally and mentally in an environment that's safe for them. And I talk about what happened to me as a kid. There's a lot of grown-ass men who look even more aggressive than I am, who just break down and cry, man. And it's like they haven't cried about that thing that happened to them since they were a kid. And you got to cry, get it out of your system.
Right.
Talk about it, realize you're normal and you're okay,
Right.
and then move on and have a brotherhood who's going to support you the rest of your life.
Exactly. I want to ask you this question because I actually just made a video about this a couple days ago, and it was about anxiety. And I shared a little bit of my story about anxiety and panic attacks. For anybody who didn't watch it, super quick, my wife was pregnant last year, and you got to go to the OBGYN, and so the very first visit, not the second, third, fourth. It was the very first visit we went, and I was doing great. I don't like hospitals, by the way.
Right. Me
So
too.
that's where it comes from.
The irony is that your mom's a nurse.
I'm telling you, yeah. So that, man, I lucked out there. So yeah, we're at the visit. Everything is good. We're looking at the baby for the first time, and then after we meet with the doctor, he shows us the actual baby we can see. Then we go to the next room, and the nurse gives you the packet, and they tell you what you do and you don't do, through this pregnancy. You need to walk, don't eat this, and blah, blah, blah. Everything was great. I felt great, and I was proud of myself until the nurse talked about not eating salty foods. And it made me go into that kind of panic state because she said, obviously whatever you eat, the baby gets. And so stay away from super salty foods because the babies are so little, their veins are so thin, salt can't pass through them, and it can cause the baby's veins to burst. And when she said that, it was like, even right now, I was like, oh my gosh, stay away from that. So when she said that, I visualized it. I saw it in my head, and it set me into this mode of like, and so I pulled faked the phone call. I'm gonna go out in the hallway real quick. I got
Just to gather yourself?
Yeah, just to get, slap myself and get myself, get back together.
Awesome.
And I wasn't able to calm myself down, and I actually ended up fainting. I woke up, and the doctor and a nurse were dragging me into the room, trying to put me on the bed and get me sugar, get me juice, whatever.
Wow.
So anyways, man, I bring that up because you talk about it in your book, Man Up, how you had, a severe anxiety attack, so much so where you went to the hospital and they hooked you up and ended up nothing was really wrong with you. It was just anxiety.
Anxiety,
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah. So it seems like, at least on the surface, because most people with anxiety are masters at hiding the fact they have anxiety.
Yes.
But it seems like, for the most part, that you've done a great job dealing with that. Do you feel like you had more pressure on you being a man and having anxiety? Because I know a lot of us are just taught to just man up and, anxiety is not real, depression's not real, that stuff isn't real, just get over it. Do you feel like you had more pressure because you were a man dealing with that?
Believe it or not, I didn't even realize I was dealing with anxiety at the time. Again, I'm so not self-aware, man. It's bananas. If there was one thing I could go back and change about me, it's like, can I get a little bit more, like, another cup full of self-awareness, right? Just so I'm like, I don't feel right. And I would my heart would race or whatever. But the one big anxiety attack that I had, bro, I thought I was having a heart attack. I was 38 years old. I'm like, oh shit, I'm having a heart attack. Who's gonna walk Chloe down the aisle? Who's gonna teach Andrew to be a man? Who's gonna protect Di? Like, I made a commitment about this, right? Like at 38, I die. This is how I go. And of course, as we go to the hospital and stuff, or the doctor's like, no, man, you check out fine. That wasn't a heart attack. Are you stressed? Are you dealing with anxiety? And before I even answered, Di's like, yes, yes, he is. And so I was taking Vicodin and NyQuil at night to go to sleep, to calm my mind. Wow. And I would drink lots of coffee and take Adderall to wake back up. And I very quickly learned and it was because of that anxiety attack that I went to the therapist that I was telling you about once a week for 16 months. Yeah. Right? In the first 4 weeks, he dealt with my anxiety and fixed it. And I'm going to tell you the easiest fix for anxiety, and you're going to be like, holy smokes. The next 15 months were spent on the trauma that I experienced as a kid, right? And we worked on that. So what a blessing that was. The anxiety helped me deal with that. So So his name is Kevin. I'm like, hey, Kevin, I'm having anxiety. What do I do? He goes, one, anxiety is anticipation of future pain. So if you're having anxiety, it's because you're just like, and that's what you're doing in your head. You're like, oh my God, what if my baby's little veins pop and my baby comes out, God forbid, stillborn or Downs or whatever, right? Like you just anticipate this future pain and you can't do anything about it. And anxiety. So anxiety is as anticipation of future pain. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, I could think a lot of conversations that I should be having that I haven't had. And I'm anticipating those conversations going bad, and I'm anxious about it.
Right.
2, action alleviates anxiety. Just go have that conversation. Just go do that thing.
Right.
Just stop eating salt. Just whatever the thing is, right? Action alleviates anxiety. And then the other thing he taught me was halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When you're halting, when you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, that's when the drug addict is going to go back to drugs. That's when the alcoholic will go back to alcohol. For me, that's when I start suffering in silence. When I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired for too many days at a time, I start going inward, getting dark, depressed, and anxiety starts coming up.
Yeah.
And so now when I'm hungry, I shut my laptop and I eat. I used to not. I used to be proud of myself that I'm not going to eat until I clear out all my emails. Bro, why? How stupid is that? Right? Like, that didn't make me a man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink water until... or I'm not going to go hang out with my wife and kids until I'm done with this project thing that I'm doing, this whatever, the new business I was launching. Why?
Yeah.
Now I'm lonely.
Right.
My family's out there having fun and by the pool, and I'm inside working on a sunny day. How about I just go and... So those 3 things, anxiety is anticipation of future pain, action alleviates anxiety, and manage your halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tiredness. Like get your sleep, regulate your caffeine, have routine, eat, drink accordingly, and be surrounded by loved ones and friends, and then do your work. Took away 98% of my anxiety.
Wow.
Do I still feel anxious at times? Sure, man. When I have a deadline or something, yeah. When I'm going to go in front of an audience of 2,000 people and speak, like, but that's good anxiety. That's competitive anxiety. That's the anxiety that I imagine Jordan or Kobe felt before they hit the court.
Yeah, exactly.
I want that competitive anxiety. I don't want the anxiety where I feel I'm losing control and I'm either going to faint or have a heart attack.
Right. Got you.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, man. That's going to help a lot of people out because I think that a lot of people who have anxiety, it doesn't matter about your gender or your sex. It doesn't matter. You feel, pressure or stress as it is, just having anxiety. But I think, at least me being a man, and I can speak on, I felt personally maybe a little bit more anxious because I felt like I wasn't supposed to feel that way and that it was supposed to not be, it's just in your head. It really is. But it was just like, it made it, your anxiety will make you feel like things are real when they're not.
Yes.
And so that's why I wanted to ask that, man. Yeah. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit because I really want to talk a little bit more about family. Your family is so important to you. And people can see that. You put little snippets of that outside on Instagram and on Facebook and different things like that. But why is it so important to you to pride yourself on being such a family man?
I'll tell you what, man. I've learned very quickly that all the money in the world and all the meaning in the world, meaning popularity, are nothing if you can't share that money with your family, give them freedom, lifestyle, experiences with them. Yeah. So if you have no one to experience that with, you're a lonely, rich person. Yeah. And that's not a good place to be. You look at Robin Williams. He hanged himself. He committed suicide because he felt lonely amongst having lots of money, but maybe never felt connected.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Right? So, it doesn't matter if it's a family like a brother and sister, if it's family like you're the husband and that's the wife and that's the kids, or family just like, hey man, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but we're family, we're friends.
Right.
Like you gotta have someone that you share significant life events with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the money and the meaning are meaningless.
Sure.
That's why family is so important to me. And the other reason is, like, I really believe part of my purpose is to take those 2 beautiful kids, Andrew and Chloe, that I created with my wife, and help them, set them up to have even greater impact on this planet than I ever did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how I'm helping Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, and Compassion International, like they're going to 10x that.
Right.
And I'm going to be watching from wherever I am, hopefully in heaven, going like, holy smokes.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Like, man, I want that. So like to have those little kids to mold, like I got to make time to talk to your mom, but I could just imagine she just would burst about you, you know, and that's how you're going to be about your daughter, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Definitely, man. That was the next thing I was going to ask you too about being a father specifically. What is, to you, anyways, what do you feel is the most important in being that role to them?
I don't know how many words this is. Role model parent. Role model parent. 3 words. Be a role model parent.
Got you.
Kids do not learn what they're taught. They learn from what they've caught from you.
Yeah.
You know, and man, I learned that long ago.
Yeah.
And so I make sure I'm a role model parent.
Yeah.
I don't just say don't do this and then do it myself.
Right.
I'm a role model. I practice what I preach, and my kids now practice that. To see my son as a 5-6-year-old start opening mom's door, helping her with,
insane.
Bro, right?
Such
Crazy.
a beautiful thing.
Started taking Chloe out on dates when she was probably 6 years old, and she had, you know, when they were young, they would go on the dates with us. We're not going to leave them at home, and she would see me and Di holding hands in the truck.
Yeah.
And so the first date that I took her on, she just reaches over and grabs my hand, man, which gave me the opportunity. And I said, hey, Chloe, when you're older and you have a friend who's a boy and he takes you on a date like we're going now, holding hands is okay, but if he wants anything more, you just say no and you call Dad and I'll pick you up. Yeah. She goes, okay, Dad. Like I was able to brainwash her in a good way.
Yeah, right.
You know, like if any creep tries to do anything beyond this, like,
you got my number.
Yeah, you call Gorilla Daddy and I'll be there to take care of business. Yeah.
Right on, man. That's awesome. So, we have talked a lot about what you do for men in general, for people in general, but men specifically with the project. And but I want to go, you know, talk a little bit more about what you do for Andrew, because I see how close you guys are, and I know that it's extremely important to you that he gets, you know, certain lessons and he picks up on things. You know, what do you feel is the most important lesson that Andrew learns, and why?
You know, I think the most important lesson that, you know, Andrew, who's 14 years old now, learns is that I want him to be artistic with music. And we just said, hey, you pick the music that you want. He picked up the guitar and he loves it. You picked the sport. Soccer wasn't his thing. He gravitated towards football and he loved it. He played soccer for a while. It wasn't his thing. Then he wanted to skateboard and I was like, boom, Lheighton. And now he obviously gets coaching from you on skateboard. And then I was so happy the other day when I came home and I saw you guys pulling up. You had picked him up to take him for his skate lessons. Like, I don't know what conversations are happening in the car and while he's skating, but I know it's lessons that you'll be able to pass along to him that if it came to me, it wouldn't be as cool to talk about. Does that make sense?
I get you. I understand.
And the only time I could do that is when we are sitting in the car driving, where we're not making eye contact. We're driving to go to the beach to surf together. And then he'll go, hey, Dad, because he's looking out the window. I'm looking out the window. And he'll go, hey, Dad. I go, yeah, bud. And he'll ask me some profound question about a girl, right? You know, this is what I feel about a girl. What's going on? What are my feelings? Like, oh, shit. All right, here we go. So just that he can be musical. He can be athletic. He can be a Renaissance man. Like, dude, I was one-dimensional, like a piece of paper.
Right.
You know, now you take 4 pieces of paper, you make a house with it. Like, I want my son to be multi-dimensional. I don't want anyone to be able to say that, oh, Andrew, he's a great athlete, but not that smart. He gets great grades, but he also realizes he doesn't need to go to college. It's a waste of time unless you're going to be a doctor, an attorney, an architect, something that's required, a degree. You don't, an entrepreneur, you want to be an artist, you want to be an athlete, you don't have to go to college. And we've talked about that kind of stuff. So I've given him so much self-awareness and choice. He wears a black sock and a white sock.
Yeah. I asked him about that too. That's
Did you?
Interesting. Yeah, that's him. That is him.
That's it.
And I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Bro, I tried that once when I was a kid. I got the 5 brothers immediately, and I went right back to wearing all white socks like my dad wanted me to. My son put on black and white socks, and the first time, I don't know, years ago, and he came down the staircase and he looked at me, and I was like, that's awesome, man.
Got the approval.
You look good.
Right on, man.
And now I go on Amazon, I order a pair of black, pair of white for him when I see they get holes in it. I'm like, hey, buddy, here you go. And he's like, Dad supports.
His thing, man. Yeah, exactly. The approval, man.
And I think that's so important, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's just showing individualism.
Yeah.
You know, like, I love how you show up in all the colors. You know, I'm like I live vicariously through you, Lheyton. I just don't have the confidence to wear the purple and the blue. But you roll up, I'm like, I love that. You know,
I appreciate it, man.
Your mom gave you that. She gave you the creativity opportunity, and that's important.
Yeah, definitely, man. So we're going to change it up a little bit because we've talked a lot about the men, talk about, you know, even as specific as talking about your son. I'm sure that your relationship with Chloe is much different than it is with Andrew, just because they're two different creatures, man. You got a boy and a girl, and so this is a question for me more than anything, because I'm a new dad. I just had my first few months ago, my daughter, and how is it different on how you teach Chloe versus Andrew, like as far as what you teach them? I asked that because, my wife's Hispanic, and she had old school parents, and it was, very black and white. The men did this, the women did this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious on what you think about that, or how you do things.
So it's funny you say that, because being Armenian, very much like the Hispanic backgrounds.
Yeah.
Men did this, women did this.
Yeah.
With Chloe, I literally treat her just like Andrew.
Right on.
You want to be an athlete? Let's go find a sport that you like.
Right on.
Now, if you don't like one, just like I told Andrew, you can't quit it until the season's over, because then you learn to quit.
For sure.
Andrew didn't like soccer, and he was a goalie, high pressure, but he played goalie the whole season and then quit. He liked football, and he stuck with it.
Yeah.
He liked the guitar, he stuck with it, but if he didn't like it, then when the lessons run out, then you can quit.
Gotcha.
Right? Same with skating. I don't know how many sessions we bought from you or for how long, but it's like, what if he doesn't like skating? He has to go through it until it's time to end, not just quit.
Yeah, for sure.
But same with Chloe. Athletics, brains, baby girl, you're independent. She goes to the gym with us because we have my own gym, so they both are beasts in the gym. Like we did the Murph over Labor Day weekend, which is a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, another 1 mile run. Now, Andrew he's 14, he did all of it with me.
Yeah.
Chloe and Diana did all of it, except instead of pull-ups, they did lat pull-downs.
Gotcha.
Right? They beasted it out, bro. A 13-year-old, actually she's still 12, a 12-year-old girl beasted it out, and I was like, baby, you're going to pass out? She goes, I threw up a little in my mouth. I'm like, and if you need it to come out, you can throw up on the ground, we'll wipe it up. Okay, Dad. Like, I don't coddle her. Yeah, like she's strong, she's independent.
Yeah.
And then, of course, but when we go on dates, like, hey, men are this way, and if they try this, and we have that open dialogue, because I treat her like an adult, like I do with Andrew. Nothing different.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And she'll call me out when I tried to, because there's a little Armenian in me still. I learned, right? Like, so I'm like, hey, baby, can you help your mom with the dishes? Or can you help me and mom with the dishes? Or whatever. Well, how come you're not asking Andrew? I'm like, shit.
I know, yeah.
Andrew, come help us, right?
Yeah.
Because she's right.
Yeah, bring him in.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's right.
Awesome, man. The last question I have is about your relationship with Di, your wife Di.
Yeah.
I love your relationship that you guys have. And you guys, I'm not going to say that, just on the surface you guys seem so happy, because there's a lot of people that have that in public, but then they go home and it's a circus and it's a lot of drama. Excuse me. But I know you on a personal level, and I know you guys are legitimate, and you're so genuine with your relationship that you guys have. And you guys run, the company together. You guys run your household together. You guys are a team on everything. And I just want to ask, not for just myself, but for everyone else watching that might be, in a marriage who, they're trying to get to that point. What did you guys do? I'm not going to give you give me 5 reasons. Even if it's just a few things that you think of. What did you guys do to get to where you guys are? And then also, how do you stay there? Because that's difficult for a lot of people too.
Yeah. Man, I can tell you this, and for me it was accidental, but I hope the younger dudes watching this, they can make it intentional. Like we're coaching Andrew to do this.
Right.
I told Andrew already, I'm like, buddy, you're type A, you're high strung, and you're driven, just like me and mom. If you find a wife who's just lackadaisical and a procrastinator, you're going to go bananas. If she's pretty, she's hot, you're attracted, but she's procrastinating, you're going to go bananas, because all the prettiness and all that hotness is going to wear off when you're like, why can't you achieve more in life? Why can't you do more? Where's your purpose and potential in life? And so thankfully, I think instinctively I was drawn to Di and she was drawn to me, but we're both type A doers, drivers,
for sure.
Right? And then the one thing I did intentionally was I was like, hey, Di, I know you're going to college to be a physical therapist. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And just if we want to go on a 1 month vacation, are you going to be able to take a 1 month vacation time off from your physical therapy job? She's like, no. I'm like, do you trust me that I can do this and that I can have financial freedom for us? She's like, yeah. I go, would you be open to helping me? And that way we can go off for a month, 2 months, 3 months, travel the world. You don't have to ask for time off while I can get all the time off I want.
Exactly.
And bro, she trusted me with that. But she's type A driven, high strung, just like I am. And then she's like, I'm on board with this vision of us running this company, but it better happen. And it did. Right? And that gave me good pressure. And now we went to Greece and Italy and Rome with the kids last year for like a couple weeks, and it was great.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're best friends, we're teammates here, and we're both high strung and type A. And I imagine if you're a procrastinator, you should go find someone who's lackadaisical and procrastinator like you.
Yeah.
Because then otherwise you're going to be like wanting to get up at 5 a.m. on a weekend while they're going to want to sleep until 10 a.m.
Yeah,
and then you're going to be upset at them.
Yeah.
That's how they're wired. How are you going to be upset at that?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But that's the magic.
Awesome, man. I love it, man. That was the last question I had for you. Again, man, thank you so much. Seriously, I appreciate this.
Thank you, Lheyton.
It helped me a lot. I hope that it was beneficial to you too to kind of share some more about you personally, you as a man, you as a father, husband, and a son. And yeah, I appreciate it, man. So
thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate it, brother.